Episode 1 of the Eternaut Season 1 starts with 3 girls on a sailboat. One of them is leaving soon and they're having a little goodbye celebration. Suddenly, there's a neon cloud and strong waves. The girls move to secure the boat, but 2 of them die. Meanwhile, in the city, 3 men are on their way to have their weekly card game at their friend's house. Unfortunately, there are protests in the streets which delays them a bit. They take a detour and decide to order some whiskey on the way. Soon, they arrive at Tano's house and are warmly welcomed by his wife Anna and Vincente. Another friend, Lucas, is already there. Tano is pleased to see Russo and Juan, but is unhappy that Russo brought his brother-in-law Omar. Juan offers to help Anna throw away the garbage, and they joke about Tano becoming a hoarder. Apparently, the guy likes to keep old things like phone books and maps, but Anna is secretly throwing them away. As the night deepens, the guys play an intense card game, teasing each other and enjoying each other's company. While this is happening, Omar does a self-tour of the house and comes across a mask. Juan reminds him that Tano doesn't like having his stuff touched, and as they play, the whiskey they ordered arrives. As they enjoy their game, they hear some strange noises and assume it has started raining. However, the noise gets louder and Anna calls Tano. The guys rush to see what all the fuss is about, and through the window, they see Vincente lying on the ground outside. Tano is about to open the door and check it out when Lucas notices something odd. There's something in the air and Anna refuses to let Tano out. Another car comes crashing into one of the parked cars outside, and the other men start trying to get in touch with their families. Unfortunately, the phones are not working. Tano moves into action mode and orders his wife to double check that all windows are closed. In the meantime, the guys try to keep Russo calm as he's worried about his family. Tano tries to reassure him and Omar accuses him of giving Russo false hope. An argument follows and in the chaos, Russo sneaks outside. He manages to take a few steps before collapsing on the streets. Tano blames Omar for Russo's death. After the tragic death of Russo, the others remain inside, blaming themselves. They quickly grab some heavy jackets as the weather turns colder. Juan starts to worry about his ex-wife Elena and his daughter Clara. Suddenly, a knock on the old door attached to the garage startles them. On the other side happens to be a woman calling out for help, but Tano is cautious about helping her. In the end, the others convince him to open the door, and it turns out to be the delivery girl who delivered the whiskey earlier on. She was fixing her bike when the snowfall started. They quickly let her in, but remain suspicious of her since they thought their delivery person was a guy. Juan uses this opportunity to try to access the garage office and grab the car keys. Unfortunately, even after going through all that trouble, the car just won't start. While in the garage, Tano notices that the snow loses colour when it reaches the ground. Inside, Lucas and Anna interrogate the delivery girl, whom we find out is actually called Inga. It turns out she was helping her brother out, and the guys outside join them and start strategizing. Juan wants to leave and check on his daughter and wife, and as they talk, they notice one of their neighbors is still alive. They try to signal to the man not to open the window, but he does anyway. Seeing the neighbor and his wife die makes Juan more determined to save his family. Tano agrees to make Juan a suit and give Juan the mask. They work diligently to make this suit, and Tano suggests that Juan take a gun with him. Before Juan can leave, Omar grabs the gun and demands the mask since it was his idea. Thankfully, Tano takes the uncocked gun from Omar, and he warns Omar from having any further ideas that could jeopardize their safety. After suiting up, Juan leaves and he comes across many dead bodies on his way. Episode 2 of the Eternaut starts with a flashback before the deadly snowfall. In one of the apartment buildings, we see a group having a meeting. They're discussing what to do about the recent never-ending power cuts. Suddenly, the power goes out and a car comes crashing into the building. One of them moves to check on the driver and dies on the spot. Meanwhile, we see Juan is making some headway. As he walks through the streets, it's deadly quiet. There are lots of dead bodies lying around, and surprisingly though, he keeps hearing someone whistle but can't seem to see anyone. He comes across a group of young people on the bus and they ask for his help, but there's not much Juan can actually do. He only has one mask, so he opts to give them water and leaves. Back at Tano's house, everything is relatively quiet, all things considered. Tano worries about supplies, water contamination, and Juan's return. He gets into it with his wife and Lucas, and it seems like Tano doesn't trust anyone, especially after that stunt which Omar pulled. He asks Lucas to help him seal the windows and reminds him they can't trust Inga or Omar. He might be right though, because Inga is actually a former military and Omar is cunning. Inga gets angsty while waiting and decides to grab a helmet and leave. However, Tano decides to leave first. It turns out he made an amateur mask and he borrows Inga's bike and makes a fascinating discovery. When he inspects the bike, he realizes only old things work. To confirm his theory, he attaches a radio to an old car battery and it miraculously works. Back on the streets, Juan finally makes it to Elena's building after hours of walking. It turns out to be the same building we saw in the opening scene, and he quickly makes his way to Elena's house, but someone sees him. They try to ask how he walked through the snowfall, but Elena and Juan have another bigger issue to handle. Their daughter is not home. Elena gave her permission to have dinner with a friend's family, and although she sent Juan the address, since the phones aren't working anymore, they don't actually have it. Juan suggests that he go to school to check out their daughter's friend's address, but as they talk, the news of his arrival spreads. The neighbors corner them and demand to know how Juan actually walked through the snow. They demand to see his mask, but Juan senses the danger of showing it to them. He draws out his pistol and tries to exit the building. Things escalate when their neighbors fetch their guns too. A gunfight inevitably ensues, and Juan and Elena make their way to the second floor. They hide in an empty house, and Juan asks Elena to wear the mask and leave for the school. She hesitantly agrees and they quickly make her a suit. She jumps out through the window and lands on the truck parked below. Juan remains behind to hold the neighbors off as much as possible. But once Elena leaves, the neighbors manage to break in. Juan grabs a plastic paper and puts it over his head. He then breaks the window and everyone flees. Juan quickly jumps through the window too, but he passes out from suffocation shortly thereafter. Elsewhere, Tano and the others use their makeshift masks to get to the fire station. There they collect some resources, such as actual masks and fire suits. They make their way to Juan after hearing the gunshots and try to save him. While Juan is passed out, he has visions of being in what looks like a valley. He then sees a man and everything turns red. He wakes up in the old truck that his friends have managed to find. Thankfully, Elena is with them too, but for now, there's no sign of his daughter. Episode 3 of The Eternaut starts with a flashback to the night of the snowfall. This time we get Inga's backstory. She opted to let her brother finish his football game and made the delivery for him. Meanwhile, Tano tries to make contact with anyone through the radio. As their efforts bear no fruits, Lucas starts to wonder if they should leave to find help. They'll have different opinions, but Lucas insists they need to leave town. Tano strongly refuses and Juan borrows the car to look for Clara. Tano refuses, insisting that they need to stick together. A fellow neighbor, Benito, approaches the house. He begs Tano to give him the car so they can deliver supplies to some people. Tano refuses to lend him the car, but as they argue, Omar steals it and leaves. Benito leaves too, but Tano is not happy that he's working with Roberto. It turns out they had a falling out with the guy 20 years ago. Omar manages to drive the car until he comes across a huge car wreck blocking the road. He swerves to miss it, but ends up having an accident all the same. Right before he passes out, he notices a red light in the sky. After a while, someone finds and rescues him. In the meantime, Elena and Juan leave to look for a car and get to Clara's school. They end up spending the night in a car hiding from looters. Elena worries that Juan is struggling mentally after using his gun again. Since he's been back from the army, he has actually been avoiding shooting with firearms. Back at Tano's house, they grow anxious as they listen to the looters outside. Tano spends the night trying to make radio contact, but is unsuccessful. The following morning, Juan and Elena arrive at the school. While she's searching the office, she hears a noise and goes to investigate. She finds a young boy locked in a closet, and his friends were playing a prank on him, but they all died. Simultaneously, Juan finds a car and returns. He tries to inform the boy, Pablo, about the deadly snowfall, but the young man is too rude to listen. After seeing his friends' bodies lying outside the school, it finally dawns on Pablo that things are serious. He agrees to help Juan and Elena if they take him home after they find Clara. Sadly, he tricks them and gives them his address. They arrive at his house and find everyone dead. Their deaths shock Pablo and he develops a high fever. Elena convinces Juan to break into the local chemist and get some medicine for the boy. Whilst at the chemist, a young woman appears and begs for their help. She pretends that she's about to give birth, and against Juan's advice, Elena lets her in. It turns out the woman was only distracting them to give her boyfriend enough time to ambush them. The couple take Elena's bag and lock Elena and Juan in the toilet. Thankfully, they don't spot Pablo. After the couple leaves, Elena convinces Pablo to free them. They give him the mask they had saved for Clara and start making their way back to Tano's house. Juan is still having visions about the red sky and a man. On the way, they come across a family with a car packing to leave town. Once again, Elena intervenes and asks Juan to let them be. As for Inga, she returns to the park to check on her brother and finds his dead body. Heartbroken, she returns to Tano's house, where Elena and Anna comfort her. Tano urges him to focus on their survival instead of grieving. Tano entrusts Inga with a gun and asks her to stand guard while he fetches more supplies. Lucas joins him and they head back to the fire station. There they find Benito and his crew. Benito wants to close all the roads and also wants Tano to reconsider his decision to let them into his garage. He gives Tano 24 hours to rethink his decisions, and Tano is displeased, especially with the idea of closing down the roads. They head back home though, and Tano makes contact with a guy from Uruguay. According to this fella, he has also been in contact with someone from Brazil. They're all suffering from the deadly snowfall, and they deduce that it's actually happening worldwide. Unfortunately, they're not able to talk long with their new friend. Tano tries to move his aerial to find a way to contact the Brazilian guy, and this is when he notices there is something wrong with his compass. After a long walk, Juan, Elena and Pablo arrive at Tano's house. This time, Tano is hell-bent on leaving the town and heading to his other house on the island. He has also figured out that the Earth's magnetic field has shifted. His compass is no longer functioning and he thinks the world is broken. Juan is less concerned about the world and more interested in finding Clara. They get into a fight though when Tano suggests that Clara is dead and Juan is in denial. In the closing scene, we reunite with a couple that stole Juan's car. They are actually near the supermarket, siphoning gas from other cars when something attacks, kills them instantly. Episode 4 of The Eternaut starts with someone in a yellow suit and mask making their way under a bridge. Meanwhile, at Tano's house, the friends hold a short funeral for Russo. After the funeral, Juan and Elena get into a mild fight over how to look for Clara. Elena wants to remain behind and nurse Pablo, and on the other hand, Tano leaves to fetch more supplies before they head to the island. He advises Anna to help Juan look at the phone book to find Clara's friend's address. Thankfully, the phone book is still in the dustbin outside, and Juan finds the address. Lucas escorts Tano to the supermarket and they use a walkie-talkie to communicate with Inga. Inga informs them that Juan has found the address and he is on his way downtown. Lucas grows anxious after hearing this and convinces Tano to go and help. Tano takes his car and meets Juan on the way. They decide they're going to look for Clara and then head to the island. Tano theorizes that the ring of radioactive particles surrounding the Earth has been destroyed. He thinks this is what caused that deadly snowfall. On their way, they come across the same wall of wrecked vehicles blocking the way. As they get out to explore, they spot military cars coming towards them. A soldier asks them to turn back and avoid the downtown area as it is being completely cordoned off. She assures them that the government is sending help from Camp de Mayo. She asks them to find a safe place and wait, but this attracts Tano's attention and they then decide to secretly follow the military cars. They make their way downtown and the soldiers inevitably start shooting at them. To escape the gunfire, Tano turns the car and they come face to face with huge bugs. They watch in horror as the bugs wrap one of the soldiers in a spider-like net. Fortunately, Tano and Juan manage to find a place to hide. Once again, Juan zones out and has a vision of a fire and men shooting at something. He finally comes back to his senses and they decide to find a way out. They quietly make their way out of the hiding place and realise all the soldiers are gone. They take the ammunition and start moving. They slowly watch one of the bugs drag one of the soldiers they wrapped in a net, and while slowly but steadily making their way out, Tano accidentally hits something, because of course he does. The noise awakens the bugs, but Juan manages to shoot and kill them. The other bugs hear the commotion and come out to attack, prompting Tano and Juan to start running and arrive at a church. While there, someone appears and helps them. Their good Samaritan brings them to another group hiding inside the church. Surprisingly, Omar is actually among them, and he tries to paint Juan and Tano as dangerous men. Juan does manage to defuse the situation and they settle in. They quickly learn that the bugs arrive with the lights and they head to the rooftop to see what these guys are talking about. Tano tries to make a run for it, but the nun stops him. A while later, another small group arrives as they went out to look for food and supplies and are just returning. Juan pulls Tano aside and informs him of his plan to leave the church. He's hell-bent on getting to Clara no matter what. Omar approaches though and reveals that one of the others, Rengo, has told him about a passageway under the bridge. He is sure that even though the passage is sealed, it's still a viable route around the wreckage blocking their way. Omar also mentions that Rengo remembers Juan from his military days, but Juan has no recollection of meeting him. After his talk with Omar, Juan sneaks out and has another vision of bugs marching towards something. He goes back to the church and finds the others arguing about whether they should move. He He tells them that he's found a working truck and it's possible to move. After taking a vote, they agree it's best to move before more bugs arrive. Later, Juan confides in Rengo about his visions. Rengo empathizes with him, but he doesn't have any visions about the war. Rengo also mentions that he and the nun are staying back, but Rengo worries he might hold the others back since he's actually crippled. After the group packs their stuff, they quickly make their way towards the blocked passage. They hide in a bus while some of the men break through the wall, and among them is a young mother with a baby. The baby starts to cry and nearly awakens the bugs in the process. Fortunately, the men break through the wall just in time. However, Juan, the mother and the baby end up temporarily cornered inside the bus. Upon seeing their friends trapped, the nun and Rengo both ring the church bell. This distracts the bugs, allowing Juan and the mother to join the rest in the passageway. The bugs head towards the church where Rengo and the nun are waiting for them. The two pour paraffin all over the church, waiting until most of the bugs get inside before lighting a fire. The church goes up in flames, killing many bugs, Rengo and the nun alongside them. After getting through the passageway, the group comes to the place where Juan found the truck. Unfortunately, it is piled up and they will have to get to it without awakening the bugs. As expected, this is a pretty impossible task, and Tano sees his life flash before him when a bug gets him. Thankfully, he's saved before he's spawned into a web. They finally get the truck down and quickly get inside. Juan and a few men with guns hang in the back of the truck to shoot at the bugs, and amazingly, they manage to escape without anyone getting killed. As they drive away, Juan looks at the burning church and realizes he saw this in one of his visions. Episode 5 of the Eternaut starts with another Juan vision. This time he sees his young self on the battlefield. He passed out from a blast and fell into a trench. The following morning when he wakes up, everyone is dead and it's snowing. He spots his older self looking at him as if trying to warn him. Back in the present, the group makes it to Tano's neighborhood. Tano, Omar and Juan decide to head home while the group continues to Campo de Mayo. Upon arriving, Juan finds Clara sleeping in Elena's arms just like in his visions. He's shocked but recovers quickly and gladly wakes up his daughter. He carries her to the bed since she's weak, and Elena assures him that she'll be fine and that Clara was lucky to find her way towards them, and they decide to enjoy their family reunion. Meanwhile, Roberto visits Tano to get an update on how things are. By now, they have heard rumours of the bugs, and Tano confirms this is true. Tano also decides that they need to leave, and Roberto suggests a deal. He offers his RV in exchange for Tano's house and garage. Roberto and his crew believe they can fight the bugs, but Tano doesn't. So he agrees to the deal and they continue to prepare for their trip. With everything set, Tano takes his family and friends and they intend to head to his house on the island. Before they leave though, Tano notices that Clara's suit is the one from the boat. However, Clara insists that she was never on the boat and doesn't remember anything. They make their way to the port, but there's no water and it's too muddy to drive through the river. They decide to take a different route, but first Tano goes back on his boat to check something. As they continue on their journey, they encountered a car that had almost crashed into them earlier on. By the looks of it, someone has shot the family. After driving for a while, they come across a group of people living at the mall. There's enough food for everyone and people seem more relaxed here. They quickly settle in, but Juan warns them not to let their guard down. It seems Juan doesn't trust one of the guys he has seen in another group. At night, they grab some drinks, and Juan confides in Lucas that he's troubled by Clara's return. It feels unreal to him, and Lucas says that maybe his mind is playing games on him. A boy tries to approach Clara here, but she suddenly loses it and starts slapping herself. Juan and Elena take her away to calm her down, and Elena suggests they head to Campo de Mayo, where Clara can find some proper help. Tano reveals that he's found the boat's logbook, and Clara was there, because she signed it out. In the meantime, Lucas apologizes to the shocked boy. Later, Lucas then joins the kids for a card game but leaves to get whiskey. He hears some strange noise and goes to check it out. The following morning, he is nowhere to be seen. At the same time, it suddenly stops snowing, allowing the people to walk outside without masks. As Tano and Juan search for Lucas, 3 people attack the mall and start shooting at them. In the chaos, the boy talking to Clara the night before gets shot. After an intense firefight, Juan kills one of the assailants. He's shocked to see that it's actually a young mum. A necklace hints that she has 3 kids, and Juan is unable to reconcile the reality of a mum doing such a thing. As they rush to give the injured some first aid, Lucas returns with soldiers from Campo de Mayo. He convinces everyone to head to the camp with the soldiers, and as they drive away, they observe that the water has flowed back into the river. Juan and Tano interrogate Lucas on where he was, but he insists he got drunk and passed out. The soldiers found him on the streets, and after a long drive they finally get to Campo de Mayo. Elsewhere, one of the shooters makes his way under a bridge, but the bugs don't attack him. In fact, they move out of his way as if they recognize him. Episode 6 of the Eternaut Season 1 starts its finale with Juan having a vision of meeting the woman he killed at the mall while shopping during the Christmas season. He wakes up in the middle of a field, and it turns out he blacked out while collecting firewood with Tano and Clara at Campo de Mayo. Things are less tense at the camp, but Tano worries about Juan's health. One day, Tano is summoned by the sergeant in charge. He finds Lucas in the meeting, and it turns out Lucas has actually told the sergeant that Tano is an electrical engineer. They want Tano's help to fix an old radio to communicate with other survivors. Tano refuses to leave the camp to offer his help though. In the meantime, the soldiers are training the people how to fire guns. Unfortunately, the boy who got shot didn't make it. After a while, Tano is convinced and decides to help the military fix the radio. He realizes, after seeing Roberto arrive at the camp, that the bugs are much stronger. Roberto's crew didn't make it, even with all the weapons they had. His wife tries to beg him to stay, but Juan also agrees to go. Later, two men approach Juan, and it turns out one of them is actually a train engineer. There's a train station close to the camp, and the guy suggests they fix the trains and use them to get downtown, which is where the tower is located. The following morning, a few volunteers, along with the soldiers, leave for the mission at hand. The group first heads to the train station and quickly manages to fix one train. They use this to get through the wreckage wall and get downtown. Here, they form 3 different units, each with a different task. One group is tasked with checking out the planes they saw on their way to the train station. It seems the planes landed somewhere near the tower building, while the other is tasked with fishing the radio, while the last one keeps watch at different points. The mission here is basically to restore the radio and send out a message calling out other survivors nearby. However, trouble arises when the group from the plane is late to arrive. The group comes across other survivors, but something definitely feels off here. It turns out they've actually been brainwashed to work with the bugs. Among this group is Inga, who is now dating Omar. Juan and a few others notice something seems off at a nearby stadium. The leader ignores Juan's request to investigate, arguing that he's yet to hear back from those who went to investigate the planes. He can't risk losing other people. Omar grows worried though, so to distract him they decide to play a card game. During the game, Lucas suddenly loses his cool and stabs Omar before running away. Tano and Juan chase him to the rooftop, trying to understand what's going on. Lucas starts talking about how everything was planned and warns him not to disrupt anything. Unfortunately, his explanation is unclear and he jumps to his death before they can save him. Soon after Lucas falls to his death, Juan notices something is up. He spots the other group from the plane making their way back. Unfortunately, this group has been brainwashed and they ruthlessly attack the other group. Juan, Omar and Tano manages to escape the building with a small group of people. Using the train, they safely drive off. Juan decides to go to the stadium and another soldier, Franco, joins him. The rest head back to camp to warn the others. Upon making their way to the stadium though, they realise it's actually the bugs' base camp. Here, the bugs are training their captives to fight and they're all completely hypnotised. As Juan explores the base, he realises why he has been having visions. It dawns on him that he is feeling a sense of deja vu, as if he has already lived this, and that is how he recognises people like Franco and keeps seeing things before they happen. As the truth dawns on him, the bug leader starts singing an ethereal melody. Juan looks at the hypnotised people and sees his daughter. He finally comes to understand why his daughter has been acting strangely, which is where season 1 of the Eternaut comes to an end. Thanks for watching, and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like or subscribe to the channel, your support is very much appreciated. I'm Greg Wheeler, and from all of us over here at The Review Geek, we'll see you on the next video.